Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We'd like to welcome everyone online to our wonderful greeting of Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. Every Sunday we meet here, and today is a very important day. It's the 60th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada arriving in America, where he started the Hare Krishna movement. And tonight, you see all these beautiful students. They're going to be singing at our program tonight in the Krishna Hall. Beautiful poetry that Prabhupada wrote on the Jaladuta. And they're going to be singing Prabhupada's favorite tune, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So as we always do, before we begin, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvaseja Sunyavadi Paskachadesh. And to each other, Vanchakalpa Durubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So today, for all of you online, we're on chapter 36. You can note the subtitles at the bottom of the page, which will help you to follow along. The name of this chapter is Kamsa Sends a Crore for Krishna. Vrindavan, what? Oh, am I on the wrong one? Is it 38? Oh, excuse me then. Oh, it's about a crore, right? Chapter 38. Okay, so chapter 38, a crure's arrival in Vrindavan. Everyone can share a book if you don't have one. Narada Muni did not mention Krishna's killing Vyomasura, which means that he was killed on the same day as the Keshi demon. The Keshi demon was killed in the early morning, and after that the boys went to tend the cows on Govardhan Hill, and it was there that Vyomasura was killed. Both demons were killed in the morning. Akrura was requested by Kamsa to arrive in Vrindavan by evening. After receiving instruction from Kamsa, Akrura started the next morning via chariot for Vrindavan. Because Akrura himself was a great devotee of the Lord, while going to Vrindavan, he began to pray to the Lord. Devotees are always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and Akrura was constantly thinking of Lord Krishna's lotus eyes.
He did not know what sort of pious activities he must have performed to gain an opportunity to go see Lord Krishna and Lord Balram in Vrindavan on that day. A pure Vaishnava always thinks himself unfit to serve Krishna. So Akrura began to think within himself that he was unfit for gaining the transcendental opportunity of seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He considered himself an unfit for seeing Krishna as a materialistic person, is for understanding the science of God, or as a fourth-class person, a Shudra, is for studying the Vedas. But then Akrura began to think, by the grace of Krishna, everything is possible, and thus, if he likes, I will be able to see him. Just as a blade of grass floating on the waves of a river may by chance come near the shore and gain shelter, a conditioned soul carried away by the waves of material existence may sometimes be saved by the grace of Krishna. Akrura thus thought that if Krishna willed, he would be able to see him. Akrura considered himself most fortunate that he was going to see Krishna, whom great mystic yogis desired to see. He was confident that on that day all the sinful reactions of his past life would be finished and his fortunate human form of life would be successful. Akrura also considered that he was very much favored by Kansa, who was sending him to bring back Krishna and Balaram, and thus enabling him to see the Lord. Akrura continued to consider that formerly great sages and saintly persons were liberated from the material world simply by seeing the shining nails of the lotus feet of Krishna.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead has now come just like an ordinary human being, and it is my great fortune to be able to see him face to face, Akrura thought. He was thrilled with expectations of seeing the very lotus feet which are worshipped by great demigods like Brahma, Narada, and Lord Shiva, which traverse the ground of Vrindavan and which touch the breast of the gopis, covered with tinges of kumkuma. He thought, I am so fortunate that I'll be able to see those very lotus feet on this day, and certainly I shall be able to see the beautiful face of Krishna, which is marked on the forehead and the nose with tilaka. And I shall also see his smile and his curling black hair. I can be sure of this opportunity because I see that today the deer are passing on my right side. Today it will be possible for me to actually see the beauty of the spiritual kingdom of Vishnu Loka because Krishna is the supreme Vishnu and he has invented himself out of his own goodwill. He is the reservoir of all beauty. Therefore, today my eyes will achieve perfection.
Akrura beyond a doubt that Lord Krishna is the supreme Vishnu. Lord Vishnu glances over the material energy and thus the cosmic manifestation comes into being. And although Lord Vishnu is the creator of this material world, he is free by his own energy from the influence of the material energy. By his internal potency, he can pierce the darkness of the material energy. Similarly, Krishna, the original Vishnu, by expanding his internal potency, created the inhabitants of Vrindavana. In the Brahma Samhita, it is confirmed that the paraphernalia and the abode of Krishna are expansions of his internal potency. The same internal potency Krishna exhibits in Goloka Vrindavana is exhibited in the earthly Vrindavana, where he enjoys himself with his parents and in the company of his friends, the cowherd boys and gopis. By the statement of Akrura, it is clear that since Krishna is transcendental to the modes of material nature, the inhabitants of Vrindavana, who are always engaged in loving service to the Lord, are also transcendental.
Akrura also considered the necessity of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. He thought that the transcendental activities, instructions, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna are all for the good fortune of people in general. The people can remain constantly in Krishna consciousness by discussing the Lord's transcendental form, qualities, pastimes, and paraphernalia. By doing so, the whole universe can actually live auspiciously and advance peacefully. But without Krishna consciousness, civilization is but a decorated dead body. A dead body may be decorated very nicely, but without consciousness, such decorations are useless. Human suicide without Krishna consciousness is useless and lifeless.
Akrura thought that Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna has now appeared as one of the descendants of the Yadu dynasty. The principles of religion are his enacted laws. Those who are abiding by such laws are demigods, and those who are not abiding the demons. He has advented himself to give protection to the demigods who are very obedient to the laws of the Supreme Lord. The demigods and the devotees of the Lord take pleasure in abiding by the laws of Krishna, and Krishna takes pleasure in giving them all sorts of protection and confinement. In the Bhagavad-Gita, these activities of Krishna, his protecting the devotees and killing the demon, are always good for men to hear and narrate. The glorious activities of the Lord will ever increasingly be chanted by the devotees and demigods.
Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the spiritual master of all spiritual masters. He delivers all the fallen souls and proprietor of the three worlds. Anyone who is able to see him by eyes smeared with love of Godhead enjoys the festival of seeing. Today I shall be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead who by his transcendental beauty has attracted the goddess of fortune to live with him perpetually. As soon as I arrive in Vrindavan, I will get down from his chariot and fall prostrate to offer my obeisances to the Supreme Lord, the master of material nature and all living entities. The lotus feet of Krishna are always worshipped by mystic yogis. So I shall always worship him, his lotus feet, and become one of his friend in Vrindavan. Like the cowherd boys, when I bow down before Lord Krishna in the way, certainly he will place his fearless lotus hands on my head. His hands is offered to all conditional soul who take shelter under his lotus feet. Krishna is ultimate goal of life for all people who fear materially existence, and certainly when I see him, he will give me the shelter of his lotus feet. I am aspiring for the touch of his lotus-like hand on my head. When that hand touched the breastness of King Indra and King Bali, these two become qualified to be Lord of universe. And when that hand touched the gopis as they danced with Krishna in the Ras Leela, it relieved all their fatigue.
In this way, Akrura expected blessings from the hand of Krishna. He knew that Indra, who is the king of heaven and the master of the three worlds, the upper, the middle, and the lower planetary systems, was blessed by the Lord simply by his offering a little water, which Krishna accepted. Similarly, Bali Maharaj gave only 3 pieces of land in charity to Vaman Deva, and he also offered a little water which Lord Vaman Deva accepted, and thereby Bali Maharaj wished Lord attained the position of Indra. When the gopis were dancing with Krishna in the Ras dance, they became fatigued, and Krishna wiped his hand which is as fragrant as a lotus flower growing in Manas Sarovar lake, over the pearl-like drops of perspiration on the faces of the gopis, and immediately the gopis became refreshed. Thus Akrura was expecting benediction from that supreme hand of Krishna. Krishna's hand is capable of bestowing benediction upon all kinds of men if they take to Krishna conscious. If one wants material happiness like that of the King of Heaven, he can derive that benediction from the hand of Krishna. If one wants liberation from the pangs of material existence, he can also get that benediction from the hand of Krishna. And if one in pure transcendental love for Krishna wants personal association and the touch of his transcendental body, he can also gain that benediction from his hand.
Akrura was afraid, however, because he had been deputed by Kans, the enemy of Krishna. He thought, I am going to see Krishna as a messenger of the enemy. At the same time, he thought, Krishna is in everyone's heart as the super soul, so he must know my heart. Although Akrura was trusted by the enemy of Krishna, his heart was clear. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. He risked becoming Kansa's deputy just to meet Krishna. He was certain that although he was going as a representative of Kans, Krishna would not accept him as an enemy. Even though I am on a sinful mission, being deputed by Kans, when I approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I shall stand before him with all humility and folded hands. Surely he will be pleased with my devotional attitude, and maybe he will smile lovingly and look upon me and thereby free me from all kinds of sinful reactions. I shall then be on the platform of transcendental bliss and knowledge. Since Krishna knows my heart, certainly when I approach him, he will embrace me. Not only am I a member of the Yadu dynasty, but I am his relative and an unalloyed pure devotee. By his merciful embrace, surely my body, heart and soul will be completely cleansed of the actions and reactions of my past life. When our bodies touch, I will immediately stand up with folded hands with all humility. Certainly Krishna and Balram will call me Akrura uncle, and at that time my whole life will be glorious. Unless one is recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his life cannot be successful.
It is clearly stated here that one should try to be recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead by one's service and devotion, without which the human form of life is condemned. As stated in the Bhagavad-Gita, the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, is equal to everyone. He has no friends and no enemies, but he is inclined to a devotee who renders him service with devotional love. The Bhagavad-Gita also declares that the Supreme Lord is responsive in proportion to the devotional service rendered by devotee. Akrura thought that Krishna was like the desire tree in the heavenly planets, which gives fruits according to the desire of the worshipper. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also the source of everything. A devotee must know how to render service unto him, and thus be recognized by him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is therefore explained that one should serve both the spiritual master and Krishna simultaneously, and in that way we make progress in Krishna consciousness. Service rendered to Krishna under the direction of the spiritual master is bona fide service, because the Supreme Master is the manifested representative of Krishna. Sri Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur says that when one satisfies the spiritual master, he thus satisfies the Supreme Lord. It is exactly like service in a government office. One has to work under the supervision of the department head. If the supervisor of the department is satisfied with the service of the particular person, a promotion and increase in pay will automatically come.
Akrura then thought, when Krishna and Balram are pleased with my behavior, certainly they will take my hand, receive me within their home, and offer me all kinds of respectable hospitalities, and they will surely ask me about the activities of Kamsa and his friends. In this way, Akrura, the son of Shwapalka, meditated on Sri Krishna on his journey from Mathura. He reached Vrindavan by the end of the day. Akrura passed the whole journey without knowing how long it took. When he reached Vrindavan, the sun was setting. As soon as he entered the boundary of Vrindavan, he saw the hoof prints of the cows and Lord Krishna's footprints, impressed with the signs of his souls, the flag, trident, thunderbolt, and lotus flower. These symbols of on the soles of the Lord's transcendental lotus feet are worshipped by all the demigods and other great personalities throughout the three worlds. Upon seeing the footprints of Krishna, Akrura immediately jumped down from the chariot out of respect. He became overwhelmed with all the symptoms of ecstasy. He wept and his body trembled. Out of extreme jubilation, upon seeing the dust touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, Akrura fell flat on his face and began to roll on the ground.
Akrura's journey to Vrindavan is exemplary. One who intends to visit Vrindavan should follow the ideal footsteps of Akrura and always think of the pastimes and activities of the Lord. As soon as one reaches the boundary of Vrindavan, he should immediately smear the dust of Vrindavan over his body without thinking of his material position and prestige. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in a celebrated song, Vishaya Chadiya Kabe Sudahabe Mana. When my mind will be purified after leaving the contamination of material sense enjoyment, I shall be able to visit Vrindavan. Actually, one cannot go to Vrindavan by purchasing a ticket. The process of going to Vrindavan is shown by Akrura.
When Akrura entered Vrindavan, he saw Krishna and Balram engaged in supervising the milking of the cows. Krishna was dressed in yellow garments and Balram in bluish. Akrura also saw that their eyes were exactly like the beautiful lotus flowers that grow during the autumn season. He saw Krishna and Balram in the spring of their youth. Although they had the same bodily features, Krishna was blackish in complexion, whereas Balram was whitish. Both were the shelter of the goddess of fortune. They had well constructed bodies, beautiful hands, and pleasing faces, and they were as strong as elephants. Now, after seeing their footprints marked with flag, trident, thunderbolt, and lotus, Akrura actually saw Krishna and Balram face to face. Although they were the most influential personalities, they were glancing at him with smiling faces. Akrura could understand that both Krishna and Balram had returned from tending cows in forest. They had taken their baths and dressed with fresh clothing and garlanded with flowers and with necklaces made of valuable jewels. Their bodies were smeared with the pulp of sandalwood. Akrura greatly appreciated the aroma of the flowers and sandalwood and their bodily presence. He considered himself very fortunate to see Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. and his plenary expansion Balram face to face, for he knew that they were the original personalities of the creation.
As stated in Brahma Samhita, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and the cause of all causes. Akrura could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had appeared personally for the welfare of his creation, to re-establish the principles of religion and to annihilate the demons. With their bodily effulgence, the brothers were dissipating all the demons of the world, as if they were mountains of sapphire and silver. Without hesitating, Akrura immediately got down from his chariot and fell flat just like a rod before Krishna and Balram. Upon touching the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became overwhelmed with transcendental bliss. His voice choked up and he could not speak. Due to his transcendental pleasure, incessant torrents of tears fell from his eyes. He remained stunned in ecstasy, as if devoid of all powers to see and speak. Lord Krishna, who is very kind to his devotees, raised Akrura with his hand and embraced him. It appeared that Lord Krishna was very much pleased with Akrura. Balram also embraced Akrura. Then the two lords took him by the hand and brought him to their sitting room, where they offered him a very nice sitting place and water for washing his feet. They also worshipped him with a suitable presentation of honey mixed with other ingredients. When Akrura was thus comfortably seated, Krishna and Balram offered him a cow in charity and then brought very palatable dishes. And Akrura accepted them. When Akrura finished eating, Balram gave him betel nuts and spices as well as pulp of sandalwood, just to make him more pleased and comfortable. The Vedic system of receiving a guest was completely observed by Lord Krishna himself to teach all others how to receive a guest at home. It is a Vedic injunction that even if a guest is an enemy, he should be received so well that he does not apprehend any danger from the host. If the host is a poor man, he should at least offer a straw mat as a sitting place and a glass of water to drink. Krishna and Balram welcomed Akrura in a way just befitting his exalted position.
After Akrura was thus properly received and seated, Nanda Maharaja, the foster father of Krishna, said, "My dear Akrura, what shall I inquire from you? I know that you are being protected by Kamsa, who is most cruel and demoniac. His protection is just like the slaughterhouse keeper's protection of animals. He will kill in the future. Kamsa is so selfish that he has killed the sons of his own sister. So, how can I honestly believe that he is protecting the citizens of Mathura?" This statement is most significant. If the political or executive heads of the state are simply interested in themselves, they can never look after the welfare of the citizens. As Nanda Maharaja spoke to Akrura with pleasing words, Akrura forgot all the fatigue of his day's journey from Mathura to Vrindavana. Thus ends the Bhakti-Vedanta purport of the 38th chapter of Krishna, Akrura's arrival in Vrindavana. Hari Bol.
Next chapter. Chapter 39. Akrura's return journey and his vision of Vishnulok within the Yamuna river. Akrura was warmly received by Lord Krishna and Nanda Maharaj and offered a resting place for the night. In the meantime, the two brothers, Balaram and Krishna, went to take their supper. Akrura sat on his bed and began to reflect that all the desires he had contemplated while coming from Mathura to Vrindavan had been fulfilled. Lord Krishna is the husband of the goddess of fortune. Being pleased with his pure devotee, he can offer whatever the devotee desires, but the pure devotee does not ask anything from the Lord for his personal benefit.
After taking their supper, Krishna and Balram came to bid good night to Akrur and asked him how Kans was dealing with their friends and relatives. Krishna then inquired into Kansa's plans. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then informed Akrur that his presence was very welcome. He inquired from him whether all his relatives and friends were well and free from all kinds of ailments. Krishna stated that he was very sorry that his maternal uncle Kans was the head of the kingdom. He said that Kans was the greatest anomaly in the whole system of government and that they could not expect any welfare for the citizens while he ruled. Then Krishna said, "My father has undergone much tribulation simply from my being his son. For this reason also he has lost many other sons. I think myself so fortunate that you have come as my friend and relative. My dear uncle Akrur, please tell me the purpose of your coming to Vrindavan."
After this inquiry, Akrura, who belonged to the dynasty of Yadu, explained the recent events in Mathura, including Kamsa's attempt to kill Vasudeva, the father of Krishna. He related the things which had happened after the disclosure by Narada that Krishna was the son of Vasudeva, hidden by Vasudeva in the house of Nanda Maharaj. Akrura narrated all the stories regarding Kamsa. He told how Narada had met Kamsa and how he himself was deputed by Kamsa to come to Vrindavan. Akrura explained to Krishna that Narada had told Kamsa all about Krishna's being transferred from Mathura to Vrindavan just after his birth and about his killing all the demons sent by Kamsa. Akrura then explained to Krishna the purpose of his coming to Vrindavan, to take him back to Mathura. After hearing of these arrangements, Balaram and Krishna, who are very expert in killing opponents, mildly laughed at the plans of Kansa.
They immediately informed Nanda Maharaj that Kamsa had invited all the cowherd men and boys to go to Mathura to participate in the ceremony known as Dhanur Yagya. Kamsa wanted them all to go there to participate in the function. On Krishna's word, Nanda Maharaj at once called for the cowherd men and asked them to collect milk and all kinds of milk products to present to the king in the ceremony. He also sent instructions to the police chief of Vrindavan to tell all the inhabitants about Kamsa's great Dhanuryagya function and invite them to join. Nanda Maharaj informed the cowherd men that they would start the next morning. They therefore arranged for the cows and bulls to carry them all to Mathura.
When the gopis heard that Akrura had come to take Krishna and Balram away to Mathura, they became overwhelmed with anxiety. Some of them became so aggrieved that their faces turned black, and they began to breathe warmly and had palpitations of the heart. They discovered that their hair and clothes immediately loosened. Hearing the news that Krishna and Balram were leaving for Mathura, others who were engaged in household duties stopped working, as if they had forgotten everything, like a person who is called forth to die and leave this world at once. Others immediately fainted due to separation from Krishna. Remembering his attractive smile and his talks with them, the gopis became overwhelmed with grief. They all remembered the characteristics of the personality of Godhead, how he moved within the area of Vrindavan, and how, with joking words, he attracted all their hearts. Thinking of Krishna and of the imminent separation from him, the gopis assembled together with heavily beating hearts. They were completely absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and with tears falling from their eyes, they spoke as follows.
O Providence, you are so cruel. It appears that you do not know how to show mercy to others. By your arrangement, friends contact one another, but before they can fulfill their desires, you separate them. This is exactly like a child's game that has no meaning. It is very abominable that you arrange to show us beautiful Krishna, whose bluish curling hair beautifies his broad forehead and sharp nose, and who is always smiling to minimize all grief in this material world, and then arrange to separate him from us. O Providence, you are so cruel, but astonishingly, you appear now as a Krura, which means not cruel. In the beginning, we appreciated your workmanship in giving us these eyes to see the beautiful face of Krishna. But now, just like a foolish creature, you are taking away our eyes by not letting us see Krishna here anymore. Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is also very cruel. He must always have new friends. He does not like to keep friendship for a long time with anyone. We gopis of Vrindavan, having left our homes, friends, and relatives, have become Krishna's maidservants. But he is neglecting us and going away. He does not even look upon us, although we are completely surrendered to him. Now, all the young girls in Mathura will have the opportunity. They are expecting Krishna's arrival, and they will enjoy his sweet smiling face and will drink its honey. Although we know that Krishna is very steady and determined, we are afraid that as soon as he sees the beautiful faces of the young girls in Mathura, he will forget himself. We fear he will become controlled by them and will forget us, for we are simple village girls. He will no longer be kind to us. We therefore do not expect Krishna to return to Vrindavan. We will not leave the company of the girls in Mathura.
The gopis began to imagine the great functions in the city of Mathura. Krishna would pass through the streets, and the ladies and young girls of the city would see him from the balconies of their respective houses. Mathura city contained different communities known then as Dasaha, Bhoja, Andaka, and Satvata. All these communities were different branches of the same family in which Krishna appeared, namely the Yadu dynasty. They were all expecting the arrival of Krishna. It had already been ascertained that Krishna, who is the resting place of the goddess of fortune and the reservoir of all pleasure and transcendental qualities, was going to visit Mathura city.
The gopis then began to condemn the activities of Akrura. They stated that he was taking Krishna, who was more dear than the dearest to them, and who was the pleasure of their eyes. He was being taken from their sight without their being informed, so solicited by Akrura. Akrura should not have been so merciless, but should have taken compassion on them. The gopis went on to say, The most astonishing feature is that Krishna, the son of Nanda, without consideration, has already seated himself on chariot. From this, it appears that Krishna is not very intelligent. Yet he may be very intelligent, but he is not very merciful. Not only Krishna, but all the cowherd men are so callous that they are already yoking the bulls and calves for the journey to Mathura. The elderly persons in Vrindavan are also merciless. They do not take our plight into consideration and stop Krishna's journey to Mathura. Even the demigods are very unkind to us. They are also not impeding his going to Mathura.
The gopis prayed to the demigods to create some natural disturbance, such as hurricane, storm, or heavy rainfall, so that Krishna could not go to Mathura. Then they began to consider, despite our parents and guardians, we shall personally stop Krishna from going to Mathura. We have no alternative but to take this direct action. Everyone has gone against us to take away Krishna from our side. Without him we cannot live for a moment. The gopis thus decided to obstruct the passage through which the chariot of Krishna was supposed to pass. They began to talk among themselves. We have passed a very long night, which seemed only a moment, engaged in the rasa dance with Krishna. We looked at his sweet smile and embraced him and talked with him. Now how shall we live even for a moment if he goes away from us? At the end of the day, in the evening, along with his elder brother Balaram, Krishna would return home with his friends. His face would be smeared with the dust raised by the hooves of the cows, and he would smile and play on his flute and look upon so kindly. How shall we be able to forget him? How shall we be able to forget Krishna, who is our life and soul? He has already taken away our hearts in so many ways throughout our days and nights, and if he goes away, there is no possibility of our continuing to live. Thinking like this, the gopis became more and more grief-stricken at Krishna leaving Vrindavan. They could not check their minds, and then they began to cry loudly, calling the different names of Krishna. Oh dear Damodar, dear Madhava.
The gopis cried all night before the departure of Krishna. As soon as the sun rose, Akrura finished his morning baths, got on the chariot and started for Mathura with Krishna and Balaram. Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men got up on bullock carts after loading them with big earthen pots filled with yogurt, milk, ghee and other milk products. And then they began to follow the chariot of Krishna and Balaram. In spite of Krishna's asking the gopis not to obstruct their way, they all surrounded the chariot and stood up to see Krishna with pitiable eyes. Krishna was very much affected upon seeing the plight of the gopis, but his duty was to start for Mathura, for this was foretold by Narada. Krishna therefore consoled the gopis. He told them that they should not be aggrieved. He was coming back very soon after finishing his business, but they could not be persuaded to disperse. The chariot, however, began to head west, and as it proceeded, the minds of the gopis followed it as far as possible. They watched the flag on the chariot as long as it was visible. Finally, they could see only the dust of the chariot in the distance. The gopis did not move from their places but stood until the chariot could not be seen at all. They remained standing still as if they were painted pictures. All the gopis decided that Krishna was not returning immediately, and with greatly disappointed hearts they returned to their respective homes. Being greatly disturbed by the absence of Krishna, they simply thought all day and night about his pastimes and thus derived some consolation.
The Lord, accompanied by Akrura and Balram, travelled in the chariot with great speed towards the bank of the Yamuna. Simply by taking a bath in the Yamuna, anyone can diminish the reaction of his sinful activities. Krishna and Balram took their baths in the river and washed their faces. After drinking the transparent crystal clear water of the Yamuna, they took their seats again on the chariot. The chariot was standing underneath the shade of a big tree, and the two brothers sat down there. Akrura then took their permission to also take a bath in the Yamuna. According to Vedic rituals, after taking a bath in a river, one should stand at least half submerged and murmur the Gayatri mantra. While he was standing in the river, Akrura suddenly saw Balram and Krishna within the water. He was surprised to see them there because he was confident that they were sitting on the chariot. Confused, he immediately came out of the water and went to see where the boys were. And he was very much surprised to see that they were sitting on the chariot as before. When he saw them on the chariot, he began to wonder whether he was mistakenly seen them in the water. He therefore went back to the river. This time he saw not only Balram and Krishna there, but many of the demigods and all the Siddha, Charanas and Gandharvas. They were all bowing down before the Lord. He also saw the Lord Sheshanag with thousands of hoods. Lord Sheshanag was covered with bluish garments, and his necks were all white. The white necks of Sheshanag appeared exactly like snow-capped mountains. On the coiled laps of Sheshanag, Krishna was sitting very soberly with four hands. His eyes were like the reddish petals of the lotus flower.
In other words, after returning to Yamuna, Akrura saw Balram turned into Sheshnag and Krishna turned into Mahavishnu. He saw the four-handed Supreme Personality of Godhead smiling very beautifully. The Lord was very pleasing to all and was looking toward everyone with a merciful glance. He appeared beautiful with his raised nose, broad forehead, attractive ears, and reddish lips. His arms reaching to the knees were very strongly built. His shoulders were high, his chest was very broad, and his neck was shaped like conch shell. His navel was very deep, and his abdomen was marked with 3 lines. His hips were broad and big, resembling those of a woman, and his thighs resembled the trunks of elephants. The other parts of his legs, the joints and lower extremities were all very beautiful. The nails of his feet were dazzling, and his toes were as beautiful as the petals of the lotus flower. His helmet was decorated with very valuable jewels. There was a nice belt around his waist, and he wore a sacred thread across his broad chest. Bangles were on his hands and armlets on the upper portion of his arms. He wore bells on his ankles. He possessed dazzling beauty, and his palms were like lotus flowers. He was further beautified by the different emblems of Vishnu Murti, the conch shell, club, disc, and lotus flower, which he held in his 4 hands. His chest was marked with the particular signs of Vishnu, and he wore fresh flower garlands. All in all, he was very beautiful to look at. Akrura also saw his lordship surrounded by intimate associates like the 4 Kumaras, Sanak, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar, and other associates like Sunanda and Nanda, as well as demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. The 9 great learned sages were there, and also devotees like Prahlad and Narada and the 8 Vasus. All were engaged in offering prayers to the Lord with clean hearts and pure words. After seeing the transcendental personality of Godhead, Akrura immediately became overwhelmed with joy and great devotion, and all over his body there were transcendental shivering. Although for the moment he was bewildered, he retained his clear consciousness and bowed down his head before the Lord. With folded hands and faltering voice, he began to offer prayers to Lord. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 39th chapter of Krishna, Akrura's return journey and his vision of Vishnu Loka within the Yamuna river. Hari Bol.
Chapter 40. Prayers by Akrura. Akrura offered his prayers as follows. My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are the supreme cause of all causes, the original inexhaustible personality, Narayana. From your navel a lotus flower grows, and from that lotus Brahma, the creator of this universe, is born. Since Brahma is the cause of this universe, you are the cause of all causes. The elements of this cosmic manifestation, earth, water, fire, air, earth, ether, ego and the total material energy, as well as nature, the marginal energy, the living entities, the mind, the senses, the sense objects and the demigods who control the affairs of the cosmos are also produced from your body. You are the super soul of everything, but no one knows your transcendental form. Everyone within this material world is influenced by the modes of material nature. Even demigods like Lord Brahma, being covered by the influence of material nature, do not exactly know your transcendental existence beyond the cosmic manifestation of the three modes of material nature. Great sages and mystics worship you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original cause of all living entities, all cosmic manifestation and all demigods. They worship you as all-inclusive. Some of the learned Brahmanas also worship you by observing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. They offer different kinds of sacrifices in the names of different gods, and there are others also who are fond of worshipping transcendental knowledge. They are very peaceful, and after giving up all kinds of material activities, they engage in the service known as Jnana Yajna, the philosophical search for you.
There are also devotees known as Bhagavatas who worship you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After being properly initiated in the method of Pancharatra, they decorate their bodies with tilak and engage in worshipping your different forms of Vishnu Murti. There are others also known as Shaivites, followers of different acharyas who worship you in the form of Lord Shiva. It is stated in the Bhagavad-Gita that worship of demigods is also indirectly worship of the Supreme Lord. But such worship is not orthodox, because the worshipable Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. Demigods such as Brahma and Shiva are incarnations of the material qualities, which are also emanations from the body of Narayan. Actually, there was no one existing before the creation except Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The worship of a demigod is not on the same level as worship of Narayan.
Akrura said, Although the minds of those who are devotees of the demigods are fixed on a particular demigod, because you are the supersoul of all living entities, including the demigods, worship of the demigods indirectly goes to you. Sometimes after flowing down from the mountains, during the rainy season small rivers fail to reach the sea. Some reach the sea and some do not. Similarly, the worshippers of the demigods may or may not reach you. There is no guarantee. Their success depends on the strength of their worship. According to the Vedic principles, when a worshipper worships a particular demigod, he also conducts some ritual for Narayan, Yageshvara, for it is mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita. The demigods cannot fulfill the desires of their worshippers without the sanction of Narayan or Krishna. The exact words used in the Bhagavad-Gita are Mayava Vidyan Hitan, which means that the demigod can award some benediction after being authorized by the Supreme Lord. When the demigod worshipper comes to his senses, he can reason as follows. The demigods can offer benedictions only after being empowered by the Supreme Lord. So why not worship the Supreme Lord directly? Such a worshipper of the demigods may come to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but others who take the demigods as all in all cannot reach the ultimate goal.
Akrura continued to pray, My dear Lord, the whole world is filled with the three material modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everyone within this material world is covered by these modes, from Lord Brahma down to the non-moving plants and trees. My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because you are beyond the influence of the three modes. Except for you, everyone is being carried away by the waves of these modes. My dear Lord, fire is your mouth, the earth is your feet, the sun is your eye, the sky is your navel, and the directions are your ears. Space is your head, the demigods are your arms, the oceans and seas are your abdomen, and the winds and air are your strength and vitality. All the plants and herbs are the hairs on your body, and clouds are the hair on your head. The mountains are your bones and nails. The days and nights are the blinking of your eyelids. Prajapati, the progenitor, is your genitals, and the rains are your semen.
My dear Lord, all living entities, including different grades of demigods and different grades of overlords, kings, and other living entities, are resting in you as parts and parcels of the big unit. One cannot know you by experimental knowledge. One can simply understand your transcendental existence to be like the great ocean in which different grades of living entities are included, or like the udambara fruit, out of which small mosquitoes come. My dear Lord, whatever eternal forms and incarnations you accept when you appear in this world are meant for relieving the living entities of the ignorance, illusion, and lamentation. All people therefore can appreciate the incarnations and pastimes of your lordships and eternally glorify your activities. No one can estimate how many forms and incarnations you have, nor can anyone estimate the number of universes that are existing within you.
Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the fish incarnation who appeared in the ocean of devastation, although your lordship is the cause of all causes. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Hayagriva incarnation who killed the two demons Madhu and Ketab. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as the gigantic tortoise that held up the great mountain Mandara, and who appeared as the boar that rescued the earth planet which had fallen into the water of Garbhodaka. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto your Lordship, who appeared as Narsimhadev to deliver all kinds of devotees from the fearful condition of atheistic atrocities. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as Vamandev and covered the three worlds simply by extending your lotus feet. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as the Lord of the Brigus in order to kill all the infidel administrators of the world. And let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appeared as Lord Ram to kill demons like Ravana. You are worshipped by all devotees as the chief of the Raghu dynasty, Lord Ramchandra. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appear as Lord Vasudev, Lord Sankarshan, Lord Pradyumna, and Lord Aniruddha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appear as Lord Buddha to deliver the atheistic and demoniac. And let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who appear as Kalki to chastise the so-called royal order degraded to the abominable condition of the mlechas who are below the jurisdiction of Vedic regulative principles.
My dear Lord, everyone within this material world is conditioned by your illusory energy. Under the impression of false identification and false possession, everyone is transmigrating from one body to another on the path of fruitive activities and their reactions. My dear Lord, I am no exception among these conditioned souls. I am falsely thinking myself happy in possessing my home, wife, children, estate, property, and friends. In this way, I am acting as if in a dreamland because none of these are permanent. I am a fool to be always absorbed in thoughts of such things, accepting them as permanent truths. My dear Lord, due to my false identification, I have accepted as permanent everything which is non-permanent, such as this material body, which is not spiritual and is the source of all kinds of miserable conditions. Being bewildered by such concepts of life, I am always absorbed in thoughts of duality, and I have forgotten you. You are the reservoir of all transcendental pleasure. I am bereft of your transcendental association, being just like a foolish creature who leaves a water hole covered by water-nourished vegetation and goes in search for water in the desert. The conditioned souls want to quench their thirst, but they do not know where to find water. They give up the spot where there is actually a reservoir of water and run into the desert where there is no water. My dear Lord, I am completely incapable of controlling my mind, which is now driven by the unbridled senses and is attracted by fruitive activities and their results. Therefore, my intelligence is very miserly. My dear Lord, your lotus feet cannot be appreciated by any person in the conditioned stage of material existence. But somehow or other, I have come near your lotus feet, and I consider this to be your causeless mercy upon me. You can act in any way because you are the supreme controller. I can thus understand that when a person becomes eligible to be delivered from the path of repeated birth and death, it is only by your mercy that he comes nearer to you, to your lotus feet, and becomes attached to your devotional service.
Akrur fell down before the Lord and said, My dear Lord, your transcendental eternal form is full of knowledge. Simply by concentrating one's mind upon your form, one can understand in full knowledge everything that be, because you are the original source of all knowledge. You are the supreme powerful, possessing all kinds of energies. You are the Supreme Brahman and the Supreme Person, Supreme Controller and the Master of all material energies. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are Vasudeva, the resting place of all creation. You are the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you are also the Supreme Soul residing in everyone's heart and giving direction to act. Now, my Lord, I am completely surrendered unto you. Please give me your protection. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 40th chapter of Krishna. Prayers by Akrur. Hari Bol.
So that concludes of our reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for allowing us to come and read Krishna book to you. And as usual, we offer our humble obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. And to each other. Vancha Kalpataru Bascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Krishna book. Hari Bol.